We begin with an American family, like millions of others on this holiday weekend, returning home from vacation. The Gutzlers were flying back to Illinois from Florida. The dad piloting the small plane when it crashed. The lone survivor, a 7-year-old girl. Disoriented, she walks away from the wreckage deep in the Kentucky woods, somehow making her way in the dark to this remote home for help. That little girl's survival tonight being called a miracle. ABC's Gloria Riviera starts us off.
Today in rural Kentucky, investigators sifting through the crash site looking for answers. It all started last night just before 7 p.m. The Gutzler family flying back from the holidays, making an emergency call to air traffic control, reporting engine problems. The pilot looking for the closest airport, but then silence, contact lost over Memphis, Tennessee. Minutes later, the Piper PA-34 Seneca, a 2-engine aircraft, crashed into a densely wooded area in Kuttawa, Kentucky. Father Marty Gutzler, Mom Kim, daughter Piper, and cousin Sierra Wilder all lost. But little Sailor somehow survived, trekking barefoot through this rough, wet terrain alone, a quarter of a mile to one of the few homes in the area.
The 7-year-old has just come out of the woods alone, scratched up. I think she was involved in a plane crash.
I heard a knock on the door, opened the door, and there's a little girl about 7 years old, bloody, had a bloody nose, legs and arms were bleeding, crying, and she told me that her parents were dead.
Sailor told him she tried to wake them up.
I just can't imagine a 7-year-old walking through that woods at night by herself, no lights, and just got out of a plane crash.
The plane, she said, was upside down. In the last 40 years, there have been just 14 lone survivors of large plane crashes. Half of those are children. Experts say it's possible a child's bones, less brittle, better cushion the impact. Another possibility, parents often shielding them. That's what happened to Cecilia Crocker, at 4 years old, the sole survivor in a 1987 Northwest Airlines crash that killed her mother, father, brother, and 151 others. She spoke about the long road back in a CNN documentary.
I remember feeling angry and survivor's guilt. Why didn't my brother survive? Why didn't anybody? Why me?
But in the years since, Cecilia says she has healed and is happy. As for little Sailor, released from the hospital today, miraculously with just minor cuts and scrapes. The family saying tonight, we are devastated by this loss, but confident they rest in God's loving arms.
Federal investigators are now on the ground in Kentucky. They say it will take at least 2 days to comb through the crash site, but Cecilia, today was especially difficult because of bad weather. A remarkable story, Gloria. Thank you. ABC News aviation consultant Colonel Steve Ganyard joins us now from Washington. Steve, this plane was less than 10 miles from the nearest airport, so what could have possibly gone wrong?
Well, Celia, we know that he radioed that they were having an engine problem. So you put on top of that bad weather, it's night, the aircraft's heavily loaded, he's got lots of kids in the airplane. All sorts of things could have led to a distraction that could have made him have him make a mistake that led to this tragedy.
So they crashed in the woods, as you said, in the dark. How could this little girl have walked away from this?
It's really extraordinary because if they would have crashed into the trees, maybe nose first, if she was in the back, perhaps she survived because the front of the aircraft took the brunt of it. But to survive anything like this is really, really extraordinary.
Colonel Ganyard, thank you very much.